Vince here with Dan, and right now we're at the Constitution Center, and we come across, what's your name again?
My name is Phil.
Phil, and tell us about your cause.
All of us here, we practice a spiritual cultivation practice called Falun Gong. It's also called Falundafa. It's terribly persecuted in China. It's been persecuted there since 1999. Jiang Zemin, one of the organizers of the Tiananmen Square massacre, got jealous of its popularity. The practice started with just like a couple hundred people in 1992, and the teacher of it started touring around China to teach it publicly. And by the end of the 90s, there was about 100 million people practicing this, and that's the Chinese government's figure. Jiang Zemin ordered a survey taken of how many people were practicing this, and the result came back 70 to 100 million people, and he just freaked out and got very jealous, and they started rounding up people and putting them in camps. At first they just went after the coordinators, but in 1999, on July 20th, all of a sudden it was illegal in the whole country. When people woke up that morning, all the media said, you know, if people practice this, you know, if they're your employees, fire them. If they're your students, expel them. And they started putting more people in camps, torturing people. There are hundreds of thousands of practitioners in concentration camps in China. The worst part of the persecution is forced organ harvesting. The military runs many of the hospitals in China, and they also run the forced labor camps. And the hospitals are advertising all over the world to go to China for organ transplants. We can give you one in 2 to 3 weeks. Well, you can only do that unless you have an unlimited supply of people. They are killing people in the camps for their organs. People go, they get tests, and then the hospitals go out and find a match with the military. Friends of mine were in camps, and you know, when this story broke out, well, I remember one of them, a chill went up his spine. I said, "What's wrong?" And he said, "When they put me in the camp, they didn't give me a physical, but they took my blood type." He realized he was targeted.
Right.
One of the ladies here, she's sitting right there in that tan hat. She was almost killed for organs. She was in the hospital. They had her restrained. They were going to take the organs, and one of the hospital staff took a liking to her, came up to her and said, "Somebody's going to come and give you an injection tonight. Don't resist." And she got the injection, and by the next morning, she looked like she had jaundice. She had, you know, yellow eyes. Her skin was discolored. They came and said, "Well, what happened?" And then she was able to get out of the hospital. They didn't want her anymore. Now, she felt sick for a few days and was sweating yellow, but some kind person gave her something to make her look like her sick. That's the only reason why she's alive.
Wow. That's incredible. And now, if I'm understanding this correctly, you guys are here because over in China they do not have the religious freedom to talk, to do something like this.
Right. The basic principles of this practice are truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance. There is study to improve your character. There's also 5 exercises. This is the last one. It's a sitting meditation. The other 4 are standing, and the exercises help purify your body. Now, truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance, that's the opposite of the way a dictatorship works. Exactly. They run on brutality and lies. Right. So that's one of the reasons why Jiang Zemin, who again started this persecution, was threatened by the persecution. People in high levels of the Communist Party in China were beginning to practice this. Once I was teaching the exercise in a library, and a young woman, probably about your age, same age as you guys, looked up and said something very profound and very simple. She says, "Oh, I know why this is being persecuted in China." And I said, "Why?" And she said, "Well, truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance. If everybody becomes like that and you're a dictator, who do you get to do your dirty work for?"
Right, yeah.
And it was that simple.
All right, well, Phil, thanks a lot for
Thank you. Thanks for stopping by.
And we want to thank you for being out here for such a great cause.
Thank you.